Good evening, Space Force. Welcome to your weekly update. We're going to be covering everything Bitcoin, Ethereum, Hex, and some Pulsechain as well. And as always, we're going to have some memes at the end regarding some news going on in the world. So to start it off, we're going to check out what Cointelegraph is saying about why they think that the Bitcoin level is going to drop down to about 27,500 for a bit. So looking through the article, they have a few things that they pointed out. The first one is that we haven't broken through $32,000 resistance. And then on top of that, both the weekly and daily moving averages for 200 weeks and 200 days are starting to converge and point towards that 27.5 area of support that previously happened earlier in about April-March timeframe. Additionally, they're pointing out how volume is dropping over the last month, but price has stayed relatively same, basically trading within this box between 29.5 and just under 32. Additionally, they're looking at some fundamental factors such as the Bitcoin network, saying that there's not really any updates. It doesn't look like it's going anywhere and whatnot. But at the end of the day, Bitcoin is the best performing asset in the world history, and volatility is the price we pay for that. But we can still expect it to be going up. Additionally, here is what I think. I think we have some upcoming economic factors that will be happening in the near future and in the longer term horizon that are going to affect it. Number one, we have the Federal Reserve having an FOMC meeting in July 25th, 26th to talk about interest rates. Notably, this one might not be as big of a factor as some people are pointing it out to be, because we have had interest raises throughout the entire year, but if you look at the Bitcoin chart, it has been going up steadily since the beginning of the year. Last time Jerome Powell was talking, he mentioned that there's probably going to be 2 more quarter point hike raises throughout the rest of the year. They didn't do one in June. We wonder if they're going to hit it in July or if they're going to be fine, since the latest CPI inflation numbers came out and they're at about 3%, which is better than 4% from the last index. On a bit of a longer time horizon, we're looking at second quarter of 2024, right around April timeframe, we have the Bitcoin halving. This is going to be a big deal because it's going to be a lot harder to mine the Bitcoin. And if we look at historical data, every time there's a halving, there happens to be bull runs effectively around the area. I think it could just be... It could be part and parcel to the Bitcoin 4-year cycle. In fact, I would argue it has a large part to do with why the 4-year Bitcoin cycle exists. But if you look at it, specifically this chart from CoinDesk, every time there is a Bitcoin halving, there is a pre-halving run and then a post-halving run. And every time it looks like there's a bit of a bump in the pre-halving run and there's an even bigger bump in the post-halving run. So specifically looking between 2012 and 2013, before the halving, we have an increase of 385%. Additionally, after the halving in that time frame, we have an 8,000% increase. The next one is 2016, 2017, where we have 142% and 284. And then after that, we have the 2020 halving, where we have 17% increase beforehand and a 559% increase afterwards. Obviously, all this stuff coincides with the bull market. And then notably the 2016-2017 one, the post-halving market didn't basically create the top of the market. It still ran for another year and a half year, versus all of the other ones, the end of the 365 days after the halving marked the top of the market. I mean, granted, it's only 2 data points, so we'll see. All right, heading over to the charts. First up, we're going to be taking a look at the S&P 500. So, notably, over the last month, the S&P 500 has been having a great time. And if my memory serves correct, we got about a 5% increase. What's going on here? Granted, this is the stock market, so in a short time frame, nothing like this is crazy. However, if we expand out, we are nearing all-time highs of 479, considering we're at 455. It was not that long ago that we originally had our market breakout of about 420 level, and then have been going up since then. It's been about 35 points since the top of the market, since the breakout top to where we are now, and it's only about another 25 points until we hit the all-time high for S&P 500. Obviously, Bitcoin has started to decorrelate a little bit. However, there are still times when Bitcoin does have high correlation with the market in general. Go over to Bitcoin. We're looking at our 30-day window, where we have effectively been for 1 month up at about this 30,000 level. Notably, we are dipping under the 20-day moving average, and we are slowly starting to decline. The relative strength index is still pretty high, but it is matching the movement of the price as well. So will we see more upswing? Will we see that drop down to 27.5 like some people are predicting? Only time will tell. As of right now, I think that some economic factors like the Federal Open Meeting Chair meeting are going to determine which way we go. Over to Ethereum. Ethereum on the daily chart, we are just dipping below our 20-day moving average, sitting right about 1900. We've been sitting at about this price point for a long time, basically since mid-April. There have been two little bumps up to about 2000. We touched it notably a week ago on Friday the 14th and Thursday the 13th. That was very temporary before we dip back down to where we are now. At the same time, though, Bitcoin is going to be leading the market. Ethereum will follow, and then altcoins shortly after. If you look at Bitcoin dominance, we are over 50% right now, so everything in the market is heavily concentrated there. Looking over to Hex, we've had some good news lately. Is that notably we have a bit of a run since the 4th of July up to the 14th of July, where we had a local high of 1.25 cents, and then we're back down to about 0.95 cents. And it looks like we've had a bit of a bounce off the 20-day moving average, so we could see some upward momentum going from that. Finally, you're going to be looking at Pulsechain. Pulsechain is sitting just above the SAC price at 1/1000th of a cent, effectively, or excuse me, 1/10,000th of a cent at 0.00010 or basically 0.00011. So we are effectively 10% above SAC price. However, we look at our chart, it looks like we bounced off our 20-day moving average there, so we could see some upward momentum in the future. Alrighty, going over to our crypto greed and fear indicator, we're right at 56. So notably, effectively since the beginning of the year, we've stayed in a band of about 45 to 68 at the top, I want to say it was. Yeah, 68. And again, this is pretty standard movement. We've been sitting just above 50 for a while now, and this is nothing too out of the ordinary. Additionally, market cap for all of crypto sitting at $1.25 trillion, which has about the $1 trillion cap is basically shown to be the floor for the entire market as of right now. Going over to our crypto bubbles, looking at movement, and XRP did have the big court case win, so they are still up massively this week from it. Bitcoin down just slightly, Ethereum up just slightly. Other than that, not a whole going on with our top 100 by market cap and movement. All right, on to the memes. Again, more Bitcoin sitting here waiting. When it bounces between 30, 31, 30 and a half, 31, 30, 30 and a half. Who knows? As long as we have some stability, I'm not going to be complaining too much. As of right now, this is just a great time to accumulate more Bitcoin. That's at least what I'm doing. Finally, waiting for the next crypto bull run. That has been the sentiment a lot lately. You can tell people were hoping for a little more action going on this summer and for something to be happening. But you got to consider, we're still in the 4-year cycle, and this is about on par with where we're at the times. All right, big news story of the day. RFK had a little Bitcoin webinar, and he talked about all kinds of stuff, but most notably, the big idea that he threw out there was that the US dollar needs to be backed by something hard. In this case, he actually threw out Bitcoin in addition to gold, silver, and platinum. So, we have not had a gold standard for how long? 1971. Yeah, since then, so that's been about 50 years. Basically, going back to a currency backed by something would put some stability behind the dollar. Arguably, going off the gold standard has allowed the expansion of the dollar to the point that it has with just the inflation that's gone on. And look at what the Fed targets at 2% interest rate. That basically means that over 50-year time frame, your money will literally be worth half of what it is. Allegedly, if we back it with something such as a hard asset like gold, silver, platinum, or in this case, Bitcoin, theoretically these assets will appreciate, and so will the dollar, and at least not go to the inflation spiral that is talked about. Again, RFK Jr. is running on the Democratic side of the ticket, so he will have to deal with an incumbent president, being Joe Biden, for his shot at the Oval Office. However, nothing is impossible, especially these days, but it's not going to be a super easy path for him to get into power and start realizing some of the things that he's talking about. Additionally, one of the other big points that he mentioned in the presser was the idea of having tax exemption for going between Bitcoin and the US dollar. This is effectively because they want to reduce capital gains tax going from that, especially if Bitcoin is backing the US dollar, because going from what is effectively the backed dollar to the dollar itself is just a swap that should not have any capital gains associated with it. And finally, I'm going to keep dunking on this guy as long as he has gainful employment. Gary right now, after XRP ruling and the Bitcoin ETF approval. Sad day. Don't get fired too soon, Gary, and don't let the door hit you on the way out. Anyways, this has been the Hexago Space Force weekly update. I will catch you guys later with more memes, news, and any movement in the markets. Have a good one.